Doing very well over here, Trev. One Ivan Toney. We want to get to this. I spoke to Ivan Toney last season, Trevor, when Brentford went up to Wolves and beat them. And Ivan Toney was outstanding. And I love the lad. He was brilliant. He was great to speak to afterwards, very unassuming. And he said to me then, and he said it since then, I want to give the best version of myself every time I play. It was a terrific outlook. Has Ivan Toney now, Trevor, become England's second choice striker? I mean, where are we at with this? What chance of Ivan Toney getting on the plane with Gareth and the rest of them to Qatar, maybe at the expense, say, of Marcus Rashford? Interestingly, Brentford manager Thomas Frank was asked this at the weekend, and he was asked if Toney should be in the England squad.
I've actually been asked this question a few times before, and every single time I've said Gareth, he's the guy that will find out who to call up. But on top of my head, looking at strikers in form, if we have the context is strikers in form, there's not a better striker right now. Of course, Kane is the number one, but after Kane, for me, there's not a better striker in form. Then I know there's other things that you take into consideration when you put a squad together. That is maybe performances in the past, or they earned their shirt, or whatever. I think the stats are that England's been in a few penalty shootout. If they want to win one, then they'll want to pick Ivan. But in form strikers, I don't see a better one after Kane.
So there you go, and he would say that, Thomas, because he's his boy, and he's quite right to say it. 52 goals and 96 appearances, Trevor, for Brentford now. What does it say, Trevor, about England's depth up top?
Well, I think it's lacking at the moment. When you're talking about form players, I think there's a lot of good players that play up front for English lads. But at the moment, there's probably only Harry Kane, you would say. Tammy's had a bit of a slow start in Roma. 1 goal, 1 assist in 5 games. Ivan Toney right up there. 5 goals, 2 assists. But that's not uncommon for him, because he does that wherever he goes. He did it at Peterborough United, scored a goal in less than 2 games. He's done it since he's got to Brentford. A goal in less than 2 games. He scores penalties. His link-up play is brilliant. He's a leader. He's a team player. I think he's got more nuance than we think as a player. His touch and his guile. I think he's a really creative and cultured player. And he's just a later developer. You know, he weren't on the scene as a young player as much. He went to Newcastle, it didn't quite work out for him there. And since then, he's built his career. I think he should be in the picture. I mean, listen, I'm not going to start comparing him to Marcus Rashford, because we've seen Marcus over the last couple of games showcase what we all believe that he has had in the past, and we were waiting for it to come back. His mojo. He scored a couple of goals against, was it Arsenal? Scored a goal against Liverpool. We started to see him hit a bit of form. I think he's got to be in the conversation. I would definitely give him. I would definitely, if I was Gareth, and listen, I'm not Gareth, but if I was in Gareth's position, knowing the other players that are in that position, Callum Wilson, unfortunately keeps on getting injured. Ollie Watkins, not quite happening at Aston Villa this season.
You're saying get him on that plane.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Patrick Bamford.
He's on the plane.
He's in the squad for the next meet-up. I want to have a look at him. I want to see what his personality is like. I want to give him an opportunity to wear the 3 lines.
You see, Simon, Southgate is renowned for loyalty, isn't
he? Yeah.
So you have to
and there's something to be said for that.
Loyalty will point in the direction of Marcus Rashford.
Both positive and negative.
Something has to be
regarding
said.
Loyalty.
A loyalty that's based upon merit and doesn't harm the overall perspective is something to be said for it. Toney, to me, is an outstanding player at this moment in time. I don't think you can make a case to look back at what he's done for Peterborough and other teams, because he's now playing in the Premier League at a standard that will get him judged by different people in different ways. He is an outstanding player. He came into the Premier League with a reputation of being a difficult player to play against because he's unorthodox. Forget unorthodox. He's a high quality player that not only scores goals, he makes goals, he works hard. He is an absolute credit to himself and to his football team and to his manager.
Yeah.
But the quality, first of all, he's probably the best penalty taker in the division by a country mile. He put them in the Premier League with a penalty, ironically, has scored many penalties, never looks like he's going to miss. And the quality of the goals that he scored on Saturday were as good as you'll see anywhere. I mean, what a freak. A third goal, just absolute composure, head up, clip it over the head to the top corner. What a player. And he should be in the mix. And Marcus Rashford, Johnny come lately again, because he's suddenly woken up, because he suddenly realises that he ain't going to get on that plane if he doesn't pull his finger out. Couldn't be bothered to the back end of last season. Toney should get a run out if there's a game, and there's some games coming up in the European nations. He absolutely is worthy of a run out.
You have to just look at his stats: 12 and 5 this season, 12 goals.
Last season,
12 goals, 5 assists last season.
Look at the ball. Look at the ball he played against United.
Big game player as well.
For Brentford's 4th goal.
Yes. Stunning.
Top quality
Stunning.
player.
So there we go. If it comes down to it, who has more of a chance right now? Say it's right now and Gareth had to make the decision today. Who would get the nod of getting on the plane to Qatar? You think it's a bit unfair actually, just to throw Rashford's name in there?
I did, because I think you look at, if we're going to take 4 strikers, I think you have to bring all the other players into the discussion and conversation, and I feel Ivan Toney's name does get in there.
Yeah. Many people get in touch.
He has to replace somebody, doesn't he?
He's got to replace somebody.
Yeah.
So who would he replace then?
Well, looking at the start of this season and guessing that the start of the season is going to continue for the next couple of months until the World Cup, I think you have to say that obviously Harry Kane's number 1 choice.
Right. So he stays.
I think Rashford has to be considered.
Why is that then?
Well, because he started the season really well, and if the season's going to continue as he started,
okay,
he's got 3 goals.
The other 2?
I think Ivan Toney goes 5 goals and 2 assists.
Okay.
And I think the other person, then it depends out of whether Callum Wilson can stay fit, Ollie Watkins finds some form,
who's he
or
replacing
Tammy Abrahams.
Given that Tony's been nowhere near a squad, someone is having to come out of the established order, right, Jim?
Well,
yeah.
So who would
Rashford's
who is
been
that?
out the squad. So Rashford's almost playing himself back into the squad.
So is he replacing Tammy Abraham, is he?
No, I think you take four strikers.
So who's your 4?
Harry, Ivan, Rashford and Tammy.
Okay.
Who's got eliminated on that basis, given Tony's never been part of
Well,
the squad?
Ollie Watkins has been eliminated because I don't think he started the season. Callum Wilson, Calvert-Lewin, Patrick Bamford, Danny Ings.
I mean, you've got to give Wilson a chance, surely. Anyway, if it
But
was...
Wilson's injured.
If
You
it
can't
was
take an injury-prone player.
If it was either Toney or Rashford, the interest here is huge. James in Oxford, he goes with you, Trevor. Great show as always. Thank you, James. I think both Rashford and Toney are currently playing amazing. I would question Rashford's attitude over Toney's attitude from what we see. Toney stays professional, is on the top of the game. And when the tough gets going, he's always there for you. I would take Ivan Toney. A lot of people, Trevor, I've got to say, this lunchtime, if it was a toss-up between one or the other, I would take Toney.
The goals speak for
There's
itself.
Colin. I look at Rashford. He does it time and again. Sure. I look at Toney. He's explosive. He's on the scene now. Everyone's talking about him. I would take him.
Different players, aren't there? I think it depends who you play against, and it's good to have both in your camp, because I think if you're playing against a team that are going to dictate play and dictate possession, and they're high up, I think you'd want Rashford in the team because he plays on the shoulder, down the middle. I think that's where he's his biggest threat, and I've been saying that for months. When he's been playing at Manchester United on the wings, I don't think he doesn't come across to me as a winger.
Do you agree with this, Trevor? Ryan is saying I would take both. Grealish should miss out.
But Grealish is not a striker, is he? He's not a centre forward, so that's a different conversation.
But he plays in those forward areas.
As the season started, Grealish has not really played for Manchester City. He's had like fledgling appearances, so he's. But again, loyalty with managers. Gareth Southgate has got to put aside loyalties at times and give himself a fighting chance.
I think
loyalties can be important, like what Simon said. And you look at Pickford, and people have mentioned should Pickford, and then he puts in a performance like he did at the weekend and just reiterates that he is England's number 1. But then at times, loyalty in that, you look at what's happening with Harry Maguire. He has been brilliant for England. But he can't
play in a World Cup if he's not playing a Man United's team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he's not playing for Manchester United and his form was way off where it should be last season, then that's got to be a decision.
He'll get picked. And if he stays out of Man United's team, there's no way he's match fit. You can't get you can tell us better than I can. You can't get match fit in training. No. You only get match fit by playing against the best opposition in live situations. If Harry Maguire doesn't break it into this side, Man United side, the Southgate should not be picking for the World Cup.
He will get games.
I bet he does.
Because Martin has already picked up a little, I think it's a calf injury, or it might have been cramp, but he came off the pitch.
Yeah.
He's going to get games. He's going to get games in Europa League. He's going to get games, and it's up to him to make sure that he keeps himself tip-top, so that when he is called upon for these Nations games coming up, he is right at it.
But Trevor, here's one for you. Rashford is scoring goals. That doesn't necessarily mean he's back.
But I think he is back. I think he's got his mojo back. You look at his performance against Liverpool. It was a nightmare to deal with. They couldn't deal with him. His pace, he looks fit again. It looks like he's got his head focused again. You look at his performance again against Arsenal, playing on the shoulder, clinical in front of goal. He's got that smile back, that big bright smile on his face. We want to see that.
I'm not having him.
I'm not sure he's got the smile back.
I've not had him for a long time.
Why are you not having him?
Because I think he's been built up into something that he's not. I think it's slightly unfair as well because people put him up to this level that he's not actually at, and then they're judging him by a set of standards.
I think they're putting him on the wing. I don't think he's a winger. I think all his best football is played when he's down. And even when he played on the wing, he was playing as an inside left.
But they tried him
late on in the game against
when United
Liverpool,
was struggling,
where he scored his goal. He's out to him runs.
Yeah, but Trevor, Rashford won't play down the middle for England, will he? Harry Kane's there.
You can play a front three.
That's a good point.
Inverted, both the wingers inverted, and have you.
There's one there. If Tony can do more than what Rashford does for Manchester United, if Tony does more for the likes of Brentford, with all due respect, lower quality team, why would you take Rashford? When Tony week in week out is proving he can do more.
I'm agreeing with the guy who's called. I think
Rashford cheated United for the last quarter of last season.
Say again?
I think Rashford cheated United for the last quarter of and a few of them did too, and he wasn't alone in it. But cheated United for the last quarter of last season. It's not about his recovery from an injury. By the last quarter of last season, he was fully recovered. His attitude stank, and he's got his boots on now because there's a distinct possibility in his mind.
You have to look at the club as well, Sam. You have to look at the club and where the club was heading. It was rudderless, and he was just a part of the problem.
Come on. We watched this boy's attitude. Let's call it for what it is, right? We watched this boy's attitude.
You don't understand when you're in front of 73,000 people and you've got no confidence. You're not sure where you're supposed to be. That can come across as you're not interested. You're frustrated.
I think we saw a player that was completely out of sorts because there was a variety of things going on in his head.
But that's not cheating out of sorts.
Well, I think it is because you owe your team. Well, listen, we have different standards of what you think standards are. I think you owe your team. I think it's absolutely
understanding a player's psychology.
Not lifting a leg, having a terrible disposition on the pitch, which was universally observed on,
and by me,
is by definition not doing your job. And not doing your job is by definition cheating people out of what they pay you and what they support you with.
I think
because Marcus Rashford's got some ideal of some sainthood.
But I don't hold him there. I'm just keeping it real.
And has been set up.
He was lacking confidence. He was coming back from an injury. He was at a team that had just gone through 3 managers. He came back from an
injury, Trevor, because he wanted 2 weeks additional holiday after the European Championships that he didn't play in.
It's a different conversation.
It's absurd because he was built up to a position where he wasn't at. His attitude was wrong, and it all flowed through.
We're talking about different things now.
No, we're not. We're talking about someone's propensity to deliver an outcome. And at this moment in time, he has done if you're going to take someone's body of work over the last 6 months, he's nowhere near the World Cup squad. Nowhere near.
Well, it's indisputable then that Ivan Toney should go if you're going to take the work out the last 6 months.
I think so. But the other question, because he's exploded on the scene.
But that's what he's doing in the top flight.
But that's also not true either, because we don't know whether Ivan Toney can make that leap from a domestic football in the Premier League to an international football.
And that's why it's imperative that he's in the squad for his nations.
If he plays in the European Nations games and does well, then there has to be a case for Toney to be in.
I can see Ivan Toney wreaking havoc against
Me too.
Against the US.
He's got a massive personality. Of course he can.
Let Wales have it. And here's one final one. I think the depressingly predictable Gareth Southgate, Gareth, not my words, this listener, will pick his usual side in or out of form. So that means I would select Tony, but he'll select Rashford. We'll see. But Tony's certainly in the mix.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.